Hello there, I'm Scotty. You're not, and we are continuing the Pick 10 Special Edition, and this one is True Romance, handpicked by my friend Eric, who lives in Florida. We'll just say that, I won't give it a C, but he lives in Florida. And something you should know about him, he likes like crime thrillers, heist crime thrillers, movies with lots of drugs and sex and foul language and killing people and those kinds of movies, which no surprise that we bonded over our love of horror movies. We both love horror. Uh, but these are the kind of movies I've never been like particular. Like I like some crime movies, like Pulp Fiction. I I love Pulp Fiction. I guess I should say. I like Natural Born Killers quite a bit. I enjoy the movie. And this is something in that vein. It's written by Quentin Tarantino, it's directed by somebody else. In this case, Tony Scott, who directed one of my favorite 80s flicks, Top Gun. But, you know, like, why are your window open? The bedroom window. Hold on. I'm just going to shut this door. Like, I shut the living room window. I forgot the one in the bedroom was open. I live right by the freeway, so you hear and stuff. So, anyway, so this movie I've never seen before. I've heard of it. At one point, I was going to do a Quentin Tarantino watch because I think Quentin Tarantino is a pretty good director, and I think he's an even better writer when it comes to certain things. He's good. He's great with dialogue. I've said this before in other movie reviews, like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. He's a great writer and a great director. I think he's a better writer than he's a director. I haven't seen all of his films, so we'll see. I think he has a thing for dialogue. He's a great director too. Maybe just I don't know, but I think he does a good job. Here though, he is writing for someone else, and that can be hit or miss. But I think he does a good job with him. And this is a story of two lovers, Clarence and Alabama, played by Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette, respectively. And the story basically is they meet and they fall in love, and then Clarence finds out she's a call girl, not a hooker or a whore, call girl, and so he goes to deal with her pimp, basically, which is a very problematic character played by Gary Oldman that I'm not going to get too much into, but I feel like a character like this couldn't be put in a movie nowadays. I'm just saying, nah. You couldn't see a character like that in a movie nowadays. But anyway, and after he murders this man, he takes this bag which he thinks has Alabama stuff in it, but it turns out it contains a very substantial amount of cocaine. So they go to Los Angeles to sell the cocaine, and becomes a sting operation, and you have cops that are they're trying to, weasel their way into finding out where this coke is coming from. You got people connected to Gary Oldman's character that are, specifically like the guy who owns the coke, played by Christopher Walken, who sort of disappears in this movie. He's this big like character who's in a chunk of this movie, and then all of a sudden we follow James Gandolfini, and then there's a bunch of gangsters, and it's I don't know, like he just disappears. But anyway, and then you also have Clarence who's trying to sell this thing to Saul Rubinek of all people, with the help of Balky. Well, of course, it is a little bit ridiculous. Himself, Bronson Pinchot, who is, I gotta say this because I got a Stephen King thing right here. Scaring the little girl. He was in that too. He was in the Langoliers. It was right here. But anyway, yeah, it all. I feel like the ending of this movie is a big kerfuffle that kind of derails this otherwise very enjoyable film. It feels very chaotic, and I know that's probably why Eric loves this movie because there's like a bunch of death and shit at the end of this movie, and that's probably why it was one of his favorite things. It's freaking he loves chaos in his movies, so I feel like that's one of the reasons. But like, and just so you know, I am watching the director's cut. I couldn't find solid evidence of what's different in director's cut other than when it was released in the UK, it was edited, and that was the VHS release. But now all the ones have this, VHS release, and the original versions was that edited version. But now the director's cut, I guess, is like the original released cut that's got the violence and stuff. I don't know. Supposedly, and I'm not 100% sure on this, supposedly Clarence was originally supposed to die at the end, but Tony Scott liked the character so much he kept him alive, which I can see that. I thought he was dead. And then he pops back. I'm like, dude got shot in the eyeball. I don't know. But yeah. So we first meet Clarence, right? He's talking to this chick at a bar, or at a bar, not a bar, I don't think, but he's like a bar, I don't know. He's talking to her. It's Darla from The Crow, and I did recognize her. It's Darla from The Crow, and he's talking to her about Sonny Chiba movies. Like going through a triple feature, the Street Fighter, Return of the Street Fighter, and I forget the third one. But he's talking to her about it, and she's like, "Oh no, I don't like that kind of stuff." He's like, "Oh, okay." So he just goes on his own, and Alabama shows up, and these two, they hit it off. They have great chemistry. These actors have great chemistry with each other, and that's a big thing for movies. If you have two actors not having chemistry, sometimes though, hate and animosity can create the chemistry pretty much better than those who really like each other. So I don't know, but they seem to have great chemistry, and they fall in love really quick. They have sex, whatever, and then when he gets up, she's crying, and he's like, "What's wrong? I do something wrong. What's wrong?" And she basically says that she was the call girl. She was hired by his boss to get with him on his birthday, but she's falling in love with him, which this is a movie, so we have love at first sight shit in movies. Doesn't always happen that way. But then and she's like, I love you. And then the next scene, they're getting married, and I'm like, oh shit, this is really quick. Right? And so then, because he's a professed Elvis fan, they have this cover of an Elvis song that's supposed to be an Elvis song playing at the beginning of this. By the way, I put the DVD in, right? And I put the widescreen version in. For some reason, it is the thinnest fucking widescreen version of this film that I had to put in the full screen version, which, because my Blu-ray player adjusts for that, it fit the entire screen, so I should have done that to begin with, but I don't know. But it was very weird, because sometimes even with widescreen, it'll look alright, but this, no. Reminds me of when you first started the widescreen craze, and you put it in, and it had that. Anyway, so he has a vision of Elvis, which is Val Kilmer, credited only as the mentor in the credits, but they basically tells him to kill this guy. It's the ghost of Elvis or something. I don't know. Tell him to kill this pimp, played by Gary Oldman, and oh boy, like I said, you could not do a character with this nowadays. Gary Oldman is, how do I say this so it won't offend anybody? He is a white man playing a white man who thinks he's black. That's all I can say, is that the way he talks is just, I mean, it's Tarantino dialogue, don't get me wrong, but this would not be a character you could put in a movie nowadays. You could not do this character. You could not, no. There's no way. You could not put a white man playing someone who thinks he is African American, talking like that in a movie. You cannot, no. As soon as they introduced him and they start talking, I'm like, oh, this is a problematic character. You could not do this character. I'm just saying. Yeah, basically he's like, I want I want my bitch back, is how he says. I'm not going to talk like him. Basically, he says he wants her back. She's staying. Excuse me. I'm getting over a cold. I'm still coughing, but I'm getting over this cold. I think I'm at the tail end of this thing. I still cough every once in a while, but basically say, hey, you gotta go. You gotta get her. But Clarence shoots the guy. He kills him. Like, he beats the shit out of Clarence first. It's my armpit, man. But he's able to shoot him, kill the guy, and he grabs the thing. And they find out later there's a bunch of cocaine in it, right? So he goes straight to see his father, played by Dennis Hopper. All right, Clifford, played by Dennis Hopper. Tells him, what's going on. He's got married, and they're married, and they're going somewhere. And he goes, you gotta get, tells him. Wants to get, because his dad used to be a cop, so he wants to, to know anyone is saying anything. And apparently they're not. So they take off. They go to California to meet his friend Dick Ritchie, played by Michael Rappaport. I like this character. He's a fun character. But let's talk about his roommate. His roommate, played by Brad Pitt. I forget the roommate's name, but played by Brad Pitt. And when you think, oh, Brad Pitt's in this movie, you think, Oscar, I don't know if he won Oscar winning, but like high profile actor Brad Pitt. Dude's a pothead, man. He is a burnout in the most in any way you can think of. This guy's a burnout. He's a pothead. He's smoking a ball. He's constantly smoking cigarettes, which with Brad Pitt, it's Brad Pitt. He does it anyway. But like, this dude is that roommate of yours that's a pothead. Like, you see in these kind of movies, it's just like, okay, he's a typical, but it's Brad Pitt. You're looking back on it, this is Brad Pitt, and he's playing this kind of a character. You don't think of that. You think of Brad Pitt like Ocean's 11, Brad Pitt. Or Legends of the Fall, Brad Pitt. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Brad Pitt. World War Z, Brad Pitt. You don't think sitting on your couch watching TV, smoking a bowl, Brad Pitt. I'm thinking that's all they're having this character do. And I get it, this is before he was really popular, but are really big in showbiz. But yeah. So basically, Dick helps Clarence sell the cocaine, right? And he talks to his friend Elliot, who is Bronson Pinchot Balky from Perfect Strangers, Jean-Luc from Step by Step, right? And as this sitcom character, you wouldn't think that this guy is... I got an itch, sorry. This guy, he's slicker than oil, all right? So he's this guy, he's like, okay, I gotta call. They meet at a freaking roller coaster, first of all. After he's done throwing up on his shoes, he calls Saul Rubinek, whose character, I forgot the character's name, but basically he tells him, hey, they're on the phone. So, like, hey, I got Dr. Zhivago here. And I got Dr. Zhivago here, and I really want to sell it. I really want to play this. It's Dr. Zhivago. It's a big movie. I want to sell it. And, yeah, and that's code because cops could be listening, Meanwhile, we have another problematic scene that I cannot talk about word for word, but basically, Christopher Walken shows up at Clifford's house, shows up at Dennis Hopper's house to confront him about the missing cocaine and about his son. And we have a conversation that basically it amounts to that Sicilians are African American people, but let's start with an N. That I won't get into the whole conversation, but basically they keep saying it, so he fucking kills Dennis Hopper. I don't know why this scene is in there, but it's written by Quentin Tarantino, so I can see how this scene came. This is a very Quentin Tarantino scene. But it really doesn't add anything other than the death of Clifford which doesn't add anything to the film because Clarence never finds out, as far as I can remember, that his father is dead. So I don't get the point of this scene at all. It makes sense that someone was looking for him, but after this scene, Christopher Walken disappears from the movie. So it's almost as if it makes no sense for him to be in this, because then we have other people who work for Christopher Walken trying to track down the cocaine. One of them, a very young Kevin Corrigan, who I didn't recognize at first. Thought it was Benicio del Toro until I realized, no, that's Kevin Corrigan, who was in another drug-based movie, Pineapple Express. And he was better than that, but I think he was young here. You know, Eddie from Grounded for Life. Anyway, so this whole thing starts, and okay, before I catch up to this, Elliot is driving in this car with this woman who's going down on him, right? He's driving too wildly, and he gets stopped by this cop. But he has one of the baggies of coke with him, so he tries to tell her to shove it in her bra. She's not wearing one. Shove it down her dress. She won't do it. It ends up in his face. So of course the cop walks up, sees this, arrests his ass. So now the police have Elliot be an informant for them, to track down this thing. And of course, Clarence has told Elliot some bullshit story about how he took it from a crooked cop. You know, so they don't even have the real explanation of what's going on. But this all kind of comes together at this hotel suite that Saul Rubinek has. And so you have Saul Rubinek is there, Clarence, Alabama, Dick for some reason, Elliot, and Saul Rubinek's bodyguards. The cops are listening in on this because they have a wire attached to Elliot, which is in his pants for some reason. I don't know why it has to be in his pants, because comedy where he's itching himself and nobody seems to know that he keeps itching his crotch. And then while the people working for Christopher Walken are also getting very close to finding it. There is the scene before this that I did not talk about. I guess I tried to get out of my mind because the scene was very... I don't know. It's not a scene I'm particularly fond of, but I'm going to talk about it. So viewer discretion is advised. But James Gandolfini shows up at the hotel room while Clarence is out getting cheeseburgers and stuff. He beats the hell out of Alabama to get information where the cocaine is, and they just got it underneath the bed. And then she stabs him with the corkscrew. Hey, Ted, where's the damn corkscrew? Found it. Stabs him with it. Shoots the shit out of him with a gun. Clarence walks in and sees this. We gotta get out of here. Puts the sunglasses on so she can't see it. They tell Dick that she got hit in the face with a basketball, which... okay, he's able to believe it, whatever. Even, I think Saul Rubinek calls, like, hey, you beat her? He's like, nah, it was a basketball. Like, even they realize that something's going on, but, you know. Michael Rappaport's playing the idiot character. So everything converges on this, and this is where I think the movie kind of goes down for me, as it just becomes an all-out shootout between Rubinek's bodyguards, cops, and the people working for Walken. And everybody but Clarence, Alabama, and possibly Dick die. Because Dick throws the freaking cocaine in the air, and I don't know what happens to him after that. I lost track of him. He could be dead. I don't know. He could have ran away. I don't know. Elliot fucking dies. Rubinek dies. Freaking the cops die. By the way, one of the cops is played by Chris Penn, rest in peace. I know Clive from Rush Hour, and he was also in another Tarantino movie, Reservoir Dogs. But yeah, and it looks, because Clarence goes in the bathroom to take a piss, and he's in there, and we see the Val Kilmer, Elvis mentor guy again, and then comes out, he gets shot in the face, looks like he's dead, but he's not. And then they're able to escape. We cut to sometime later, at least a year or two, because they have a son now who's like a toddler, and his name is Elvis, and they're living on a beach. And she's narrating. I don't remember if she was narrating at the beginning of this, but she's now narrating their perfect life. And well, I don't doubt that this is actually happening. You could also construe it as, because she's going nuts trying to baby. You could construe this as that Clarence actually died, and she's kind of imagined that this is her life. He survived. They have a child together. They're living in Cancun like she wanted to. But no doubt that it actually happened within the confines of this film. But you could see it that way, that he actually died, and because I'm sort of going, is he dead? Like, you get shot in the face. Apparently, it just missed him. It was a little over to the one side. He would have been dead. I don't know. But, yeah. We'll say this is pretty good. I actually enjoyed this movie. It's not bad for a first-time watcher. So, let's do this now. We gotta roll for the next one. That's my deal, right? Excuse me. Around. Okay. Roll the dice. 5. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, 5. I don't want to do 2 back to back. So if this is Natural Born Killers, I'm calling a mulligan again. All right. Oh, it's one of mine. Cool. I'm next. Timeline, starring Paul Walker and Jerry Butler. It's down here. So we got William, followed by Brandon, then me. No, then Eric, then me. So I haven't done any big LTs yet. Now that doesn't mean the next one has to be his either. It could be another Eric. It could be another Brandon. It could be another one for my son. Who knows? But we have 6 left after this. Oh, and 2 of them are his, so that leaves 4. And that's 1 for each of us. Okay. But yeah, Timeline's the next one. Looking forward to watching this again. I haven't watched it in a while. But this is one of my picks. So what are your thoughts on True Justice with your host, Bill Curtis? Romance. I watched True Justice with your host, Bill Curtis. Wrong Paul Walker movie, but okay. What are your thoughts on True Romance? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.